All right, welcome back, everybody. This is David Spider Monkey 2A. Today we got a treat for you. So we were having an issue. A relative of ours, he had a Remington 700 chambered in 22-250, and he was having kind of a hard time with his accuracy. And so he sent it back into Remington, the stock, and they sent it back, and he was getting a little bit better, but we knew he could do better. So my brother does a lot of reloading, and he knew that if he developed a couple different types of test rounds, that we were going to be able to pinpoint that in and be able to get the accuracy that our relative wanted. So we're just going to run you through that process. I'm going to send you out to Scott, and he's going to show you how it's done.
Hey there guys, Scott here. David probably brought you up to speed on what we're working on today. We've got a Remington 700 chambered in 22-250, and it was a cousin of mine who was working with it, had some factory loaded ammunition, and never did quite get the groups that he was hoping to get. So after testing several different loads, make sure that we've got the gun broken in correctly, the 50 grain bullets tended to shoot the best for us. So we still weren't getting quite as tight of groups as I thought we could get, so we decided we're going to do some reloading. 22-250 Remington, very fast cartridge. Got the dies for it right here. These are RCBS dies. I try to use RCBS or Redding dies when I'm doing my reloading. We're going to be using Nosler 50 grain bullets. See if you can see them there. These are a ballistic tip bullet meant specifically for varmint. Not meant for large game, strictly for coyotes, fox, things like that, varmint cartridge. So we're going to be using the Nosler load data book to get our loading. I find it very important to go to the book. It's always best to get the data from the people who know it best. We're going to be loading Nosler bullets. We're going to use the Nosler book. When we took a look at the Nosler book, Nosler's best chance of success that they had with all the powders that they tried for 22-250 was using Varget powder, which is basically a mythical powder that exists in certain corners of the earth that I am hardly ever able to find. But I happen to have about a pound and a half of it on hand. It's a very good temp stable powder. It says right on the bottle, extreme. And what that means as far as Hodgkin is concerned is that is their most temperature stable powders that they offer are the ones that say extreme. In IMR powders, you're going to see things labeled Enduron. I've got some of those powders as well, which kind of mimic the Varget powder, but I've got the Varget, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. I've saved you the boring part of reloading, which is the brass prep. I've already resized, deprimed, and reprimed our brass. So basically what we're going to do today is we're going to put together 5 different loads using Varget powder. We're going to do them in half grain increments. The Nosler reloading book suggested that the maximum charge that you would want to use on the Varget powder using the 50 grain bullet was 40 grains of powder. So what we're going to do is we're going to top out at that amount. We're going to back off for our other ones in half grain increments. So we'll do 40 grains, 39.5, 39, 38.5, 38. What we're going to do then is we're going to take those loads out to the range, and we're going to do a 3-shot group on each one to see which one groups the best. Now, from there, if we've got the type of grouping that we're looking for, what we want to find, perfect. We can say, let's pick that one there. We'll run it. We'll do the whole batch that way. If not, what we'll do is we may tweak it just a little bit. We can work with seating depth on the bullet as long as we've got the right tools to measure the chamber. Or we can work with even 1/10 of a grain increments on the powder. Typically, I find that half grain increments are more than sufficient to find an accuracy node where we get not only the speed that we want, but the accuracy that we want also. So we're going to be able to make those accurate shots downrange. So I'm going to get started on this right here. We'll get you some video clips of how the loading process goes as far as the charging, some of the tools that we're using to get it done. And I think it's going to be a little bit of a learning experience without diving too far into reloading. All right, guys. So right now we've got our brass all prepped, sitting in our tray right there. And we've got our RCBS Charge Master all set up, which is going to be our powder trickler. Now what this is going to do, this is a scale and a powder trickler all at the same time. So what it does, it's going to take the powder out of that hopper there, and it's going to drop it down into this pan. The scale is already zeroed out, so I can put in the exact amount that I want to come out. It's going to get very close to that, and then I'll probably trickle up from there so that it doesn't overshoot. As we talked about before, we're going to start with 38, then 38.5, 39, 39.5, and 40. Those are going to be our charge weights for the different load tests that we're going to do. So I'm going to get started with that. Give you a quick showing of how this works. Since 38 is what I'm targeting first, I'm going to go up here. I'm going to type in 37.8, hit dispense, and you can watch how that powder comes out. Trickles right down into the pan there. Scale climbs up. I'm not sure how well that shows up for you on the camera. But when that gets up to the 37.8, I'll hit the trickle button a couple times. That'll get us up to the right spot. That way we don't overshoot. As you can hopefully see now, we're at 38 grains of powder. Now that we've got it there, I'm going to show you how we take the powder from the powder cup right here, and we get it into the brass right there. The back of the powder bowl here has a funnel built right into it, which we simply put the back or the front end of the brass in, tip like this, and we dump our powder in. At 38.0 grains, we're not very full. I can't really show you this, otherwise it'll tip over and dump it out. But we're just going to rinse and repeat for all the steps all the way up through until we hit the 40 grain mark, and then we'll be ready to stuff them with bullets. Okay, so we've got all of our brass charged. So the powder is in it for all the different increments, 39 through 40. Now it's time to start putting the bullets, these little guys, into the brass. Okay. To do that, we take our piece of brass, slide it into the shell holder here. Now I've got the adjustment way up, and the reason why I've got it way up is because I don't know where it's going to fall. Because in the end, the cartridge overall length, according to the book, is supposed to be 2.350 inches. So I don't want to make it too short right off the bat. I want to put it in there, and then I want to grab my caliper, and I want to measure it. So for reloading, it's very important to have a good caliper. You've got to be able to really get in on it and make sure that you know exactly what your cartridge length is. Otherwise, you can get into some real trouble. You can get into bullets being seated too deep and causing too much pressure, or you can get them being seated too long to where they either don't fit in the magazine, or the bullet itself gets up into the lands, the rifling, and it can get stuck, or it can cause a high pressure situation, or worst case scenario, even blow up. So what we're targeting here is 2.350. I'm not sure if you can read where we were at, but we were at 2.461. So what we've got to do now is we've got to make an adjustment on the die on the top up here to cinch this down. And we've got quite a ways to go, so we're going to do a little bit more than I normally do at a time. Try it there, and we're going to see where we come out. We're going to reinsert our shell into the shell holder, run it back up. I can feel it make good solid contact there. We're going to measure it now. 2.411. Still got a long ways to go. So we're going to buckle it down a little more yet. Go about there and see where we come out. The nice thing about it is once you get it set once, you should be pretty close to good to go for the rest of the run. And there we go. We're right on the money. We got one in the books. We're going to run the rest of them, get them run through, and we'll show you the results when we get to the range.
All right, guys, we're out at the range. Scott's ready to test out the loads that he made. Take it away, Scott.
Okay, so right now we're all set up at 100 yards. Okay, we got a good stable rest on the lineman spool here. Got a good stable bipod, the Atlas bipod, and got a really, really good rear bag. It's called a Y-Bod fortune cookie. You got to be super stable when you're doing load testing. If you're not going to be able to get super stationary, the load testing, you're not going to know whether it was the load that was wrong or whether it was the way you were holding it. So now that we're set up, we've got the 38 grain stuff loaded, 3 rounds. We're going to put them down range, the 100 yards, see where they fall. Then we'll let the barrel cool down, rinse and repeat. 38.5, 39, and so on until we get through our load testing.
All right, sounds good.
All right, so we've shot all of our load tests. Got all 5 of them. We'll go through them one by one. The 38 grain produced roughly a 3/4 inch group. Perfectly good group out of a rifle. Factory ammunition, you probably wouldn't achieve that group. We didn't necessarily achieve that group with the factory ammunition that we tried, which is why we're loading for it. When we bump up to 38.5, you can see that group shapes down to about a 1/2 inch now. So a 1/2 grain can make a significant amount of difference. Likewise, we go up to 39, and all of a sudden our group opens up to about 3/4 of an inch again. Maybe some of that's the wind, maybe some of that's me, maybe I pulled that top one just a little bit. Hard to say, but when we got to 39.5, we really hit a sweet spot. We hit an accuracy note here. This yielded us roughly a 1/3 of an inch group. This is going to be pretty tough to beat. And the 40 yielded us just over that, probably about another 1/2 inch group. So as far as it goes, 39.5 looks to be the clear winner. So now I wouldn't try to do any more load development at that point to try to tighten it up any more than that. 1/3 of an inch is about all that you can expect out of a factory rifle, more than you can expect out of most of them. So it looks like we've got this shored up, 39.5 grains of Varget for our 50 grain Nosler ballistic tip bullet in that 22-250. He's going to be killing coyotes shortly.
All right, so there you have it. Scott did a couple of, I believe it was 4 different types of test loads with different grainage, and he pinpointed it into what we believe is going to be the best accuracy for that rifle. It was good, educational, and I believe that it's going to show us a lot of how just tiny little increments or differences in our ammunition really helps pinpoint a certain rifle in. All right, everybody, it's David Spider Monkey 2A. Give us a like, maybe share this video. Hope you subscribe. If not, thanks for stopping by.